How does someone even become a model? This is a great question. Welcome to Pose to Profit Network. This is where new models, aspiring models, experienced models alike come together and we share resources, tips, tricks, and the skills to pay the bills. You're going to get insider info from folks who have literally been doing this for a decade plus, from photographers to models to producers and beyond. You get hands-on experience not only with lessons and learning in classroom style, video course style, but you also have live Q&As where you get to ask your questions directly to these professionals to get the answers you need for your particular situation in your journey of modeling. Now, if you aren't already, come join us in the community. We're at school.com/pose to profit. That's SKOOL.com/pose to profit. This is where you get all your courses, your lessons, and your connections with everyone in the network. Before we dive into this, save yourself some time. If you're understanding this at this speed, this is about the speed I'm going to speak through the video. If this is great and you could ramp it up, go to 1.5 or 2x the speed, save yourself some time, and let's get into the good stuff right away. What is modeling? Put simply, it's using your body to present a product or a service in an ad, in an advertisement. That's the simplest way I can explain it. Now, I say use your body. There's many different ways to use your body. There's many different types of modeling. We'll get into that later. This is just the general, how does somebody get into modeling? What is it and how do you get in there? Why this matters. This matters because the order or the sequence of things and the amount of things changes everything. It changes the result. If you think about two people who are going to go into a baking competition and they both have the same recipe, if one of them puts in a different amount of something in the recipe, or they put something in a different order than it is in the recipe, it's going to be a totally different result than if person number two follows the order, sequence, and the amount of something. So it's really important to understand different ways, different roads, different paths that people get there, but the overall theme, which is what we're going to focus on here. How does somebody become a model? Now, in a space where you have competition, right? Modeling isn't just, oh, you're the only one. You're competing against other people who are modeling for the same jobs, no matter what style of modeling, no matter what industry, sub-industry, no matter what category, no matter what, anything that you can identify as the modeling client or the target that you're after, there's going to be competition. So it's important to know the order and sequence of things as well as the amount of things, especially when there's competition, because people are going for the same prize. So if you can learn from people who have been there, done it, and they know and get that formula out there for you to use yourself, and you just follow the instructions, you just follow that recipe, the right amount in the right sequence, you're going to get results, period. It's just a fact. Makes sense, right? Now, there's stories of, well, how do you get into modeling? There's stories of, what about the models that were just working the restaurant job and they got scouted, right? Somebody just came about and scouted them, picked them up while they were serving at the restaurant, or they got scouted in the street randomly. That's a real true story for a good amount of people. Those are definitely outliers. And that's not what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on the highest odds of success, how you can make modeling work for you, no matter what you look like, what your age is, what ailments you have. There's space for you here. And the way that you get in is you want to boil things down. I like to do this simple version, and then we can dive into the details. You want to boil things down into something that's digestible for you. How can I get into modeling? The order and the sequence. Do I go portfolio first? Do I try to apply to an agency first? How do I even apply to an agency? All of these questions, we're going to simplify things. To get into modeling, paid modeling specifically, that's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about modeling that somebody took photos for you and published and put up somewhere on their Instagram. I'm talking about actual paid jobs. Always. That's what we're talking about in here. Two things. How does somebody model professionally, get paid to model? Two things. I'm going to make it so simple. Again, simple first. We'll get complex later. Desirability is number one, and skill is number two. Now, before you get ahead of yourself and you think, well, I'm not desirable, I'm just average looking, nobody actually finds me attractive, I'm ugly, I'm missing a limb, I'm overweight, I'm all these things. Before you go down that path, just understand this. Any advertisement you've ever seen. This means anything on TV. This means anything on a billboard, anything in a magazine, anything that pops up on your feed in social media, anything at all with advertising has represented people of all different walks of life. And those people very often get paid to do it. So why can't you? Somebody that's missing a limb, you could be the perfect person to play that special effects person that gets their arm or their leg or their hand blown off or a couple of fingers blown off, right? And I have friends who are missing fingers, just born that way. That's perfect. You can just show up, they can put on some prosthetics and then blow them off, and it's a really cool thing. There's room for all kinds of people. If you don't believe me, look at modeling, look at advertising and the battle over body positivity and all these things over the last decade. It's absolutely wide open to anybody to make money modeling. So desirability isn't about being the most attractive. It's not about being the perfect fit for the most widely sought after field of modeling. Desirability comes down to this. There's a client out there who sells a product or a service, and they need to make some ads for that product or service to sell it, to market it to people. In creating these ads, they need a model who fits what they're looking for to present the message that they want to present to their potential buyers. Desirability is about marketing and visibility. So when people talk about portfolios, like how do I build a portfolio? What should go in my portfolio? I don't know. All these questions, super simple. Desirability, you could be the most attractive person. If I'm a client and I'm looking for a very, very particular look, a very specific type of person for whatever I'm selling, you could be that perfect fit that I would so highly desire hiring you for my ad. But if you aren't out there, if I don't see anything, if I don't even know you exist because you don't have a portfolio, you're marketing, you don't have the marketability, you don't have the visibility, you don't exist to me as far as I can tell. So you're useless, you're non-existent. Even though you fit perfectly the vision that I have, I don't know you exist. Therefore, I can't pay you. So we want to fix that. That's one. Desirability. The next part of desirability is it's not about looks. It's not about do you fit this mold specifically that the client is looking for. That's not what it is. Desirability in this aspect, the second part of this is trust. It's trust. It's proof. If I have two models that I potentially have narrowed everything down, the casting, auditions, whatever, and I've narrowed it down and I've gotten that funnel down to two different models, model one and model number two. If model one, stunning, perfect fit for what I'm after. They are excellent. I mean, like beyond what I imagined for a perfect fit for this thing that I'm shooting, this ad spot that I am creating. If they're perfect for that, and they're going up against the other one that I narrowed it down to, which is good enough. This model number two would get the job done based on their looks. They look good enough that it would be sufficient for this shoot, for the job. If model number one that looks exquisite, perfect, everything, doesn't have proof that they can execute on the shoot, they don't have proof, they don't have the trust behind them, and model number two has a stack of evidence that they perform well, they have a portfolio that shows many different variety of their abilities, and it shows what me, the client, is after several different times and several different outfits and settings and several different shoots in their portfolio. That's a stack of evidence that I could say, I bet model number two is going to do an amazing job, and they can follow the instructions that our photographer or that the client gives to them, the redirection on what they're doing, how they're posing, what energy we want to emit for this ad. If they have that stack of evidence and model number one just has kind of one stellar shot that we see, or if it's an in-person thing, they just look amazing, but we can't really tell. We don't have a lot of evidence for model number one. I'm picking model number two. Their desirability goes way up because they have proof that they can perform on set. That's a big deal. So desirability, you have to be visible. You have to fit what a client's looking for, whatever that is. That's a wide array of things. And you have to be stacking up trust, the trust points. Get those stacked up in your favor and you're going to get booked. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what your age is. It doesn't matter what it is. There's a market for you out there and you can find that fit for you. The more evidence you stack in your favor, the more likely you are to get booked for those jobs. Now, the second part, first part, desirability. We covered that. Second part for modeling, how does somebody become a model? Skill. It's skill. Now, you might be thinking I'm brand new to modeling, or I haven't even started trying to model yet. How do I lean on skill if that's the other part of becoming a model? I'm I'm out of it. I'm out of the running already because I don't have any skill. I've never modeled before. How do I do this? How do I get the skill? Skill comes from just having knowledge and being able to repeat that in action, right? We develop skill. Modeling is a skill. Posing is a skill. Interacting on set is a skill. The way you interact with the photographer or the stylist or the digitech, the person that's helping the photographer with the incoming shots as they're shooting, everybody on set, there's skills that you develop through all of this stuff that you can work on and you can get better and better and better and better at over time. It's a skill. You don't have to be, you could be completely brand new, never even heard of modeling before right now, and we can get you there because it is a skill. It's teachable, it's learnable. Where I'm at now versus where I was 10, 12, 15 years ago, completely different skill set, and yet I was able to make it through then in an industry where the average model's career is a year and a half. I'm well over a decade now. So skill, knowledge, and repeatable action. So again, that model number one, they have that one shot that was stunning. And here's a quick story. When I first started modeling, one of my missions, I also got into photography at the same time, like in terms of a hobby. I was like, man, this is kind of interesting. I'm on set, I'm working with these photographers, and I'm watching the way that they create an incredible shot from just like their eyes and their ideas. They're just like looking around and going, oh, if the light is here and I have it hitting him or her on the side here, or I want to have a little bit more of a shadow from over here. The way that they just craft a shot, it was so amazing to me. So when I started out, I thought, I'm getting paid to shoot as a model, which is great, but I'm in front of and I'm working directly with these people who are paid professional photographers. They are literally the ones that they won the prize. They are the top of the food chain where they're shooting for the biggest brands. They won the battle. They developed that stack of proof, that stack of evidence that if a client hires that photographer, they're going to get what they're after. The client's going to get what they want from the shoot. So I'm like, man, I'm in perfect position to not only keep learning modeling, but pay attention when I'm on set at what the photographers are crafting with the lighting, with the light box, the type of light, the amount of light that they're using. So I started to do that. I started to watch the photographers learn. I'd ask a question at the right time. I also learned that the hard way. I'd ask questions at the right time and start to learn more about photography. But what I did to start out with my lessons in photography was I went on how do you learn photography? How does a camera work, a digital camera? Read this article. It was pretty detailed, and I thought, oh man, this just broke it all down for me. I got it now. So I got a basic level entry digital camera, a Nikon D3300, and it allows you to shoot on like an auto mode. What a lot of cameras have that automatic focus and shutter speed. It adjusts for the lighting, the depth of field, all that. But it also has manual mode so that you can pick the shutter speed. You can pick the aperture, how what the amount of light coming into the lens is, and or the sensor. And I read this article and I thought, I'm ready to rock. I went out, I started shooting, and in the article it was like, just shoot every day. Just always be shooting. So I did that every day, every day. I would just go out, take pictures of dumb stuff right outside my door, go for a walk down the street, whatever. I'd shoot in the morning, I'd shoot at night, try nighttime photography. For weeks I did this, and every shot I took was trash. I never got a shot that I was like, man, that looks pretty good. Like even for a beginner, it was just like, man, these are all trash. I had been shooting on manual settings that whole time. For weeks, I'd been shooting manual settings. And what that means is I had a wide range to mess up, to not get the settings right or even close to right. Until one day I set the setting. I was trying to get this shot and it was kind of like a moving thing. I was like, oh man, some nature, like a bird or something like that was flying by. And I was like, oh, I want to get this kind of sunset thing. And the bird flying by, I really wanted to capture this. And it was just trash. It kept showing up trash on my manual settings. Flipped it to auto, snapped the shot. I snapped a couple of them. And when I went back and looked at the shots, I was like blown away. I got the shot and it looked so good. And I was like, man, this is so cool. This is so great. And then I saw on the camera it showed the settings that I captured that shot in. It was auto mode, but on the screen when you're reviewing it, the playback of the shot, it showed the shutter speed, it showed the aperture setting. And so I'm like, light bulb moment. For weeks, shooting trash, end up with this sort of accidental good shot. And then I'm like, oh, I've been going about this all wrong. I should, since I'm so new, I should just shoot auto and take in the information of the different settings that it's using based on the surroundings, the time of day, the amount of light, the depth of field, all these things. So my learning curve skyrocketed from there. I started learning so fast and taking much better shots, much better shots. Now, the reason I share this is because if I were presenting myself as a photographer, let's say I was like, oh, I'm going to start submitting for photography competitions as a nature photographer, for example, and I submit that shot that was on auto mode, it might do okay. Maybe somebody sees it and they're like, wow, that's a really good shot. And they want to talk to the photographer about how did you get it? What was the thing? What were your settings and all that stuff? And if I didn't really know how a camera worked and I didn't know the settings and I didn't put in the time to learn the skill, I'd kind of be lost and I'd feel like a fraud. I'd feel like I don't really know how to explain that moment of success. I don't know. That's like model number one who has that killer shot, that one shot when the client sees the shot, loves the shot, but they don't have a stack of proof that they can repeat that shot. Now, model number two, when they have a whole portfolio of all these things that show they have that skill set and they can repeat that skill over and over and over again, they have that, oh man, this guy knows what he's doing. It's not an accident. He's not modeling on auto mode. He's not just doing the one thing he knows how to do, that single look that he has or she has, that one outfit that she has that she looks stunning in. No, she's able to show the skill set of modeling, and it's not accident. It's not on auto mode. These are actual manual settings that they spent the time and they learned in a good process of order and sequence and amount of things. They know how this goes and they know how to work it. They can do it repeatedly. Now, under the skill category, again, you have desirability was number one. We're still under skill right now. You have to know how a photo shoot operates. You have to know the roles of the different people on set, and you have to know not only what their role is and what your role is. Obviously, you need to know your role. You need to know what's expected of you. You need to know what's expected of certain people. If I go on set and I'm getting frustrated because somebody over here isn't doing a job correctly or doing it right, if I don't know that actually this isn't even their job, I might really get upset or irritated and it might kill the whole flow of the shoot, whatever it is. The same is true with me as a model. If I don't know what my role is in a certain part, like I don't know that when I'm posing for a photographer, when they make all these tiny adjustments of the head, the shoulders, all these things to create a nice depth of field right here and the hard focus on the face. If I don't know that I'm supposed to stay here and hold this until the photographer says, okay, relax, or okay, got it, or whatever their cue is, if I don't know that, if I don't know that's my role, I might go through all this work where they're trying to get me into a perfect position for the shot. They snap one photo and then I come out of it and it turns out that I accidentally blinked at the time of that photo. And now we have to go all the way back and reset and try to figure that out again in the position. And you might have lost it, maybe, especially if you're shooting in natural light, right? You might have lost the lighting that was perfect for that, whatever it may be. You need to know your role. You need to know the roles of other people on set, and you need to know the expectations of you. This is how you build that trust even more so. This is a skill. Lastly, this, I mean, most people that when you think of modeling, I feel like this is kind of what you would imagine. You have to know how to pose. If you're new to this, if you've never posed before in your life, that is okay. We can teach you that. It's a skill. We can teach you that, no problem. But this is a big part of modeling. You have to know how to pose. You have to figure that out along the way as you keep learning, keep getting better. I'm still to this day, I still learn from poses, not just from myself, but from other people. I watch models and I'm like, man, it's incredible what he just did. I love that. And I'm picking it apart. This is a good thing. So we learn from each other. That's what's beautiful about the Pose to Profit Network, is that we all get to share the insider tips and info that has helped us get success and become successful. And it makes room for everybody to eat more, everybody to experience the joy of modeling and having that that next milestone knocked out because maybe your milestone is I want my first paid shoot, or maybe your milestone is I want to have my first kind of portfolio built, my first comp card, or my first audition, my first travel shoot. Or maybe you've been modeling for a while and you go, you know what, I've kind of been at this sort of a window, like a ceiling of earnings in the year for 5 years, and I want to break that ceiling. This is how we do it. We develop these skills, and there's more to it. Obviously, I said we're going to keep this simple. There's more to it than just this, but if you just break how to become a model down into 2 simple steps, that's it. Desirability and skill. Am I somebody who a client desires to have be the model in their ad? The desirability. And the way that I might be able to do that is by being out there. I have to have imagery out there. I have to be in front of those clients to even have a shot. Desirability. Am I a fit somewhere, someplace? And again, if you're average, so-called ugly, it does not matter. There's space for everybody here. It comes down to a proper sequence, the order of things, and the amount of energy, the amount of things that you put in for you to figure out, oh, I have a whole realm of things that I can model for. I had no idea. I had no idea I could do this. Well, when you go through things in a correct order, sequence, and amount, you figure out that, oh man, that the ingredients, when followed step by step, they turn out to be a pretty good cake, a really good result. So that's what we're after for you. Desirability, we can make that happen. And then skill. Do you have the skill? Do you develop the skill? It's not just being able to take a good photo. You might be incredibly good at taking good photo, and you might be absolutely horrible on set. You might not know what to do, how to act, or anything like that, and you still won't get booked much. You don't have to be the most attractive person. Some of the highest paid, most successful, constantly working models that I personally know aren't the most attractive people in the modeling book of the agencies. All right. They're not. It's got to be something different then. If it's not just all about looks, that's what we're all about here. We're going to unpack all of this and more. But this is the simple breakdown of how somebody becomes a model. You get seen by somebody who wants something that you look like you could offer, and the trust they have in you and your ability to capture that is way up. It's that simple. We'll have more in the different areas, the different styles of modeling. That video is coming up as well. What about just hand modeling? You mean I can go out and just model wristwatches or jewelry? Or what about foot modeling? Could I go out there and just model sandals? Like, I don't have to look a certain way, but maybe my feet look a nice way to somebody out there that I could just go and be a foot model and get paid doing that. What about being 60 years old, 70 years old? Can I model? Absolutely. There's a huge market for that. We're going to get into that in another video. But for now, you know, hopefully, if you paid attention, how somebody becomes a model. If you haven't joined yet, go to school.com/pose to join our community. We'd love to have you. Until then, we'll see you on set.